Hey gamers, we're back with another episode of Let's Create a Competitive Card Game. In this episode, we will be taking a look at the last few art descriptions for the Relic cards that we came up with a couple episodes ago, and we'll also be starting on a cost-benefit analysis. So let's get started. Alright, so last episode we took a look at the final art for the Cleric class card. And we also took a look at some concepts for three other class cards, which were the Knight, the Mentalist, and the Pyromancer. Now, as I mentioned in the last episode, those three class cards will not actually be in the first set. Those were some ideas I came up with when I initially planned on having one huge set. So I went ahead and gave the artist the information for those classes, and she went ahead and drew the concepts. But again, they will not be in the first set, as the first set will be limited to 90 cards. So before we look at the art descriptions, I want to first explain what exactly is a cost-benefit analysis. As depending on the industry or line of business you are in, a cost-benefit analysis can mean a multitude of things. So with respect to a card game, and to be specific, with respect to effects in this game, a cost-benefit analysis is essentially listing out all of the effects that we plan to have in the game, and then either listing a value for a cost or a value for a benefit. Now, benefits are anything that benefits the person playing this card, and a cost is anything that, say, a player has to pay to play this card. So essentially, a cost is just a negative benefit. So just to throw out an example, if you have to discard a card to do some effect on a card that you are playing, that would be a cost. It's discarding a card is a negative action for the player. So yeah, let's go ahead and hop over to Excel and look at the art descriptions. Alright, so a couple episodes back, we went ahead and finished up the Relics cards. So initially we did the Relic cards that could be used by anyone, and a couple episodes ago we went ahead and came up with the effects for the guild specific ones. So we did 2 for each of the guilds. So we did 2 for mind, 2 for power, and 2 for life. So what I'll do is I'll go over those effects again, and then I'll go ahead and show what the art description is that I came up with. So this first card was a mind relic, and the effect is once per turn you could put a card from play into its owner's hand, and then that player could play a different card of the same type with equal or less cost from their hand for free. So this goes with the Magician's Bounce ability. Now, the episode that I came up with these effects, I didn't want to just come up with some art description on the spot, as I wanted to give some thought to every single art description for every single effect. So now the art description for this card is a magician has made something disappear, and the magician is now making it reappear. But the thing that is reappearing isn't exactly the same as what the magician made disappear. So that description is a little vague, so I went ahead and said that an example is a portal sucking someone in and another portal returning something similar or different. So as an idea, say there's a portal sucking in a vase, and then another portal, there is part of a donkey coming out or something like that. Now, at least for me, it's hard to picture a piece of art that would show something disappearing. So I really want to see how the artist is going to draw the effects for these magician cards. So moving on to the next relic, the effect was your opponent must return a card from play to their hand each time any of their cards are returned to their hand from the play area. And we restricted that to say that that effect does not include being returned by this card effect, as essentially that effect would have just been return all cards in play to the opponent's hand, essentially, as the effect would keep kicking off from itself. So this is something that can be powerful. So playtesting will need to be done for this. Now, the art description that I came up with for that effect was, again, it's a magician, so a magician is making something disappear, but other things are disappearing as well. So maybe the artist might draw, say, a bird. They're making a bird disappear, and there are other birds flying that are being that are partially disappearing or something like that. I'm honestly not too sure what the concepts will look like, as I have seen that my ideas in my mind do come out a little bit different when the artist draws them. But I'm really interested in seeing what she draws. So moving on to the next relics, these are the 2 power relics. So the first one, the effect was, whenever you deal damage to a card with life, that amount would be increased by 1. So whenever, say, you attack your opponent directly, the damage done to them would be increased by 1, as the opponent is represented by a class card. You and your opponent have a class card that has life on it. So damage done to that class card would be increased by 1. And also any other card that may have life, say a relic or a follower, if they have life and you damage their life, they take an additional 1 damage. Now, the art description that I came up with for this card was that it should be a sword that looks like it could do more than just cut you, maybe spikes or something on it, and a warrior should be using it. Now, when I came up with this effect, the first thing I thought about in my mind was, if you watch zombie movies, there's always someone with a bat, and the bat either has some barbed wire around it or some nails or something sticking out of it. So that was the first thing that came to my mind. But since it is a warrior using it, I thought, hey, it should be a sword with maybe some jagged edges or some spikes or something coming out of it. So that is really what I expect the artist to draw in the concept. Now, moving on to the next power relic. This one was, whenever a follower you control is destroyed, you may put a power token on target card. Now, a power token is just a token that increases a card's attack by 1. And cards can have n number of power tokens. So they can get +1s as long as they keep getting more power tokens. Now, something that I did not think about when I came up with this effect is, for this first set, the class representing the power guild is the warrior. Now, warriors specialize in the fearless ability, and what fearless is essentially, when this is the only card you control, you get XYZ benefits. So for the warrior playstyle in general, warriors may want to lean to only having 1 follower in play at a time, as that's really the only way for them to benefit from the follower's effects. So this relic effect is maybe counterintuitive to warriors in general. However, the power guild in general is all about power, strong attack, strong defense, overwhelming your opponent. So in the future, this relic can have use in the power guild, but maybe not so much in the first set. Now, the art description that I came up with for this card was, I wanted something that depicted a warrior getting stronger the more his allies are defeated. And again, with this effect being counterintuitive to warriors in general, I am going to have to go back and change this description to maybe a warrior is getting more powerful with destroying more monsters, as that makes a lot more sense with respect to the fearless ability that warriors have. So moving on to the final guild, Relics, the Life Guild, the first effect that we came up with was, once per turn during your turn, you may send a card you control to the discard pile to gain life equal to that card's attack or defense. So clerics are the class that is representing the Life Guild in the first set. And clerics in particular are all about gaining life, as they're going for that life gain win. So this is a really, really good effect for them. And if you recall the way in which the rules were made, whenever your opponent plays a card or does a game action, you can respond by using an effect or ability, also by playing a skill card if it's your opponent's turn, or by using a talent card on your turn. So the best way to use this effect would actually be when your opponent is maybe trying to destroy one of your followers. Instead, you could activate this effect in response, destroying the card, but also gaining some life. So that's the idea behind the effect of this relic. Now, as for the art description, what I came up with was that it should be a group of clerics sacrificing an unwilling cleric. Now, as far as what the artist is going to draw, I honestly have zero idea. I have no idea. So we'll go ahead and move on to the final relic. So the effect for this relic was that each time you draw a card, you would gain 2 life. So that in general does allow for the cleric to potentially win the game by drawing cards, as right now the life needed to win by a life gain victory is kind of random. It's just a number I came up with. So playtesting will need to be done to see what is achievable, and I think the way in which I'll go about playtesting this is maybe doing a, say, perfect hand for the cleric, just to see how much life can they potentially gain. And that will show if the target life for a victory is either too much or too little. Now, the art description that I came up with for this card was a cleric is in a room of maybe ancient books reading them. So the reason I went with books is because your deck is usually called your library. So that's kind of the idea I'm going off of. You draw a card from your library, or you read a book in the library and you gain some life. So yeah, these are the art descriptions that I came up with for the final relics. Now, what I'll do now is I'm going to start another sheet for the cost benefit analysis. So I'm going to get that set up and then I'll be right back. Alright, so what I ended up doing is I went ahead and made a new sheet and I labeled it cost benefit. And as you can see, I made 3 columns, one with effect, benefit, and cost. And the idea behind this is that in the effect column, I will list all of the effects which will be in this game, and in both the benefit and cost columns, I will put a value for either if it is a benefit or if it is a cost. Now, initially what I was going to do was have benefit / cost as one column and put the value there and maybe use a different color for each. So say green for benefit as being good and red for cost for being bad or not so good for the player. But as you can see, what I did is I went ahead and made 2 different columns. This way it can be a lot clearer. So with the interest of the video time in mind, as I don't want this video to go on too long, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, for now, list the effects that we currently have in the game, and I will assign them a benefit or a cost. So I'll do it in, let's say, maybe alphabetical order. So the first effect that I can think of is bounce. Now, bounce is the effect or the ability used by magicians, and that just means that you return a card from play to its owner's hand. Typically, a player will bounce an opponent's card. So the way that this will work is that this will be a benefit. So a bounce effect will be a +1 for the player, as you are taking one card off of your opponent's play area or out of your opponent's play area. Now, it could be used to remove a card, or sorry, not remove, return a card from your play area to your hand, but that would still be a benefit. Even though you may be losing a card, you would do this if you had some way of taking advantage of this. Is really the only time you would do this yourself. So we'll say that a bounce effect counts as a +1. So the next effect is Fearless, as that is the warrior effect. Now, I'm going to list this effect, but I'm going to have to come back to this, as the way that Fearless works is Fearless only happens if the follower that has this ability is the only follower in play. You will get maybe 3 benefits, as I'm going to say 3 because, again, to get this benefit it has to be the only follower. So if you're playing against an opponent who is doing, say, a weenie rush or using a rush beatdown deck, you can be at a disadvantage using only one follower. So say your opponent is able to bring out 6 followers by the time that you play your 1 follower. You have to have enough benefits to justify playing this follower. So that's why for now I'm going to leave this one blank, as I do need to give a lot more thought into what the cost is, as this will definitely be a cost, as yeah, it is a benefit as you get some amount of abilities, but yeah, it is definitely a cost, as you, in order to get the benefit, you have to only have 1. So the next effect will be, let's go with floating. So if you guys recall, floating just gives you temporary ability points. Now, something I should have mentioned is the way in which I'm assigning these point values. So the more common an ability or an effect is in your world, the lower the benefit. So if bouncing is really common in your game, then it should be a low benefit. Whereas say there's something like removing cards from play. Some games have it where when you remove a card from play, there's no way to get that card back. That card is just gone. And then there are some games where if you remove cards from play, it's really easy to get them back. Therefore, it wouldn't be that much of a benefit. Now, in this game, floating won't be something that is too common, so it will be a little bit uncommon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say floating is a +2 benefit, and I'm going to say plus a lot, as it is a positive. And I'm not sure what just happened there, but that just got messed all up. Okay, so plus is something actually in Excel. So I'll just leave the numbers as they are. So now, moving on to the next effect, I'm going to go ahead and list link. So link is when you attach a card to another card. So this will be a +1, as linking cards will be fairly common in this game. And you guys should be able to kind of see a pattern growing right now. So after Link is, let's go with temporary. And temporary is another one that I'm going to have to leave blank, as I'm going to have to do some thinking on how much of a cost or benefit it is. As the idea behind temporary cards is that they are strong, but when they are destroyed before the counter runs out, they are removed from play. So they are sort of balanced that way. So next, let's go and do Vanquish. Now, in this game, Vanquish means remove a card from play. And I can tell you now that there will not be too many ways to retrieve a card once it is removed from play. In this game, when a card is removed from play, it is put outside of the now, and with respect to the lore, it has no way of getting back into this moment. So Vanquish will be a very, very powerful ability. So I'm going to say 4, as Vanquish may be the most powerful effect in this game. And yeah, I'm using effect and ability interchangeably right now. So the next one will be Void, as I think that's what I'm going to call it. And Void will mean negate. So there will not be too many effects in the game, again, that negate card effects. So this will also be a 4, and maybe in playtesting these may go down to a 3. So these are the ones that we have in the rules right now, and we can come up with some others, as some cards already have effects, i.e. I'll insert one here and we'll say draw. So there will be cards that allow you to draw, and by draw I mean drawing outside of the starting phase where you could draw a card. I mean, if a card effect has you draw, we'll say that this is a, let's say, +2 benefit. Yeah, for now this will be +2 benefit. And how about this? Let's do one more. So we have bounce, we have draw. Let me think. Let's say something simple like, let's go with destroy, as destroying a card is an effect that will be in this game. So now, what is the benefit of destroying? So essentially, how common will destroy card effects be in this game? And again, there are games where there are effects left and right that just have you destroy cards, destroy this card, destroy that card. And then there are games where there's not too many effects that allow you to destroy cards. So by default, it has to at least be a +1. Now, not knowing how many effects I'm going to put into the game that allow you to destroy cards, I'll put this at a 3 for now. Yeah, so the primary way of destroying cards. Now, this can be a 2 or a 3. This will need some play testing. So for now, I'm going to leave this at a 3, as we'll say destroy won't be super rare, but it won't be too common either. So this is where we're going to stop for this episode, and in between episodes, what I'll do is I'll extend this list or expand this list to encompass all of the effects I plan on having, and I will fill in those values. And next episode, I will show that list and give some explanations as to why those values are the way they are. So that will be it for this episode. And before actually in the episode, what I do want to mention is that there will also need to be a cost-benefit analysis done for card types, as card types should have an inherent or an intrinsic value. So followers should have some initial benefit for being a follower. A skill card or a talent card should have different benefits. And a reason behind that is skill cards can be played at any time, while talent cards can only be played on your turn. So in a future episode, we will get into the cost benefits of card types in general. So yeah, if you like these episodes, be sure to like, subscribe, and all of that other good stuff. Thanks.